Lamb, your partner in crime, and his dad, Jeff Lamb, just like the perfect partnership in so much. The first time I met Andrew, he was like, I think you said I'm an accountant, but I love what we're doing at Chinese Tuxedo and the Tyger. And I was like, you're like the perfect blend of so many amazing things that Chinatown really, welcomes and needs. And just super excited to have you both at your new establishment, the Tyger, which is at 1 Howard Street is the official address. Is that right?
Yep, 1 Howard. Yep, right next door.
Right next door. Right next door. We're at 3 Howard, where the Mocha Workshop is, and then of course Smoke is at 215 Center Street. Oh, okay. June G's here, so we can definitely start.
Hi, dude.
Hello, June.
I hope she has cocktail in hand already.
And again, for those of you who are late, we understand it's Monday, but it's Tyger o'clock and we're all okay. So the wonderful drink that they're going to show us today is in perfect celebration of the Lunar New Year. It's called the Hong Bao. And for those of you, I think most of you do probably know a lot about Chinese culture, but Hong Baos are usually given to people who are unmarried and children from those who are married. And they usually have good denominations of cold cash, new bills. And we thought this is a perfect drink that is like a treat in and of itself. So without further ado, Eddie and Andrew, thank you for joining us. And stick with us after they've made the drink, because I'm going to get into conversation with Eddie and Andrew and just find out a little bit about their passion, about why they love Chinatown, and why we should eat their delicious food. So over to you guys. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you so much for the intro. And also thank you for hosting this today. We love working with Mocha, going back to before we first opened Chinese Tuxedo back in 2015. We first met and started working together. You guys have been amazing supporters of Chinese Tuxedo. This new year obviously looks a little bit different. The last 4 years, we've been able to host a wonderful series of events at Tuxedo there on Doyer Street in Chinatown. Not such an option right now. Sadly, Tuxedo is closed currently. We will be bringing it back, but today, super excited to host here at the Tyger and prepare a Hong Bao, which is a new fun drink our beverage director here, Hugo Flores, and I put together, inspired by the new year, inspired particularly by this new year, the year of the ox. Goodbye to the year of the rat. We're excited for the year of the ox now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare it twice. The first time would be more akin to how we might prepare it here in the restaurant. Obviously, we have a lot of facilities that mightn't be available to the at-home bartender. So I'll make it initially in a bit of a fancy way, how we'd present a drink here in the dining room. And then I'll do it a second time with a couple of cheats, which might be a little bit easier for the at-home bartender. It's up to you, whichever preparation you prefer. If you want to go for the ambitious one, that's fantastic. But if you're trying to keep it simple, that's great too. So the drink, as mentioned, is called the Hong Bao. It's a tequila and baijiu base. We're going predominantly with the tequila, with a silver, a Blanco tequila. Our house pour here is Volcan. And we go 1.5 ounces of the tequila. And then we're also going to add a 1/2 ounce of the baijiu. Now, many of you will know that baijiu can be a bit of an acquired taste. This is the Ming River. I think it's definitely great to try with the baijiu initially. It will have quite a vegetal quality, quite aromatic, depending on the brand. Some people find it a bit unctuous. So it's entirely up to personal taste as to whether you want to incorporate it or not. As it's Lunar New Year, as it's Year of the Ox, we definitely wanted to incorporate it as the spirit base. Now, in the spec sheet that we've written, we've based it on muddling some raspberries into the drink. What I'm going to do now, this is again a bit of a restaurant cheat. Instead, here, I'll be using a raspberry syrup that our bar prep team prepare. It's probably a bit much to prepare at home. When we do the at-home version, we'll muddle fresh raspberries, but this is a great way to, one, expedite the process, and it will also give us a gorgeous, rich color. You'll see as we go that this is going to come up with a lovely red color, and there's a little bit of a gold surprise towards the end. We then use a fresh lime juice, 0.75 ounces. Always go with fresh squeezed if you can. A whole ripe lime, regular size, will typically give you about 1 ounce and change of juice. But definitely try to avoid the bottled varieties, the ones with the preservatives and the like. Always go fresh as and when you can. We'll also then utilize an Aguafaba. Aguafaba is the water runoff that comes off of garbanzo beans or chickpeas. The reason that we use it is it's full of a vegetable protein. It's largely odorless and flavorless, but it'll give the drink a rich, full, fluffy texture, which just looks fantastic and is a pleasure to drink. Traditionally, a lot of bars would have utilized egg whites for this. We don't use egg whites in the bar anymore for two reasons. One, separating the eggs and having them sit in the bar for a long time obviously can be a bit of a food handling risk. And also so many vegan diners in this day and age. So using a vegan plant protein will give us that same effect. And then this, we want the drink to have a gorgeous, rich, deep red color. And so in order to do that, we're using a full-bodied red wine. So something like a Cabernet or a Syrah will be best. It's not a major element of the drink, so you don't need to worry too much about using a fine wine or the like. What it will do is just dry it out and also give it that red color. It's definitely not worth opening a new bottle for this. It's only a ½ ounce that we're going to use. So you can use the bottle that you opened yesterday or the day before. That was a bit of a short pour. I'll put a touch more in. Provided you still have a glass left in the bottle, you can do it that way. Now, for the at restaurant version, we're going to serve it up in a coupe. So we have a glass chiller here in the restaurant, which obviously most people at home won't have. In order to chill a glass, super, super simple. Just throw a few ice cubes in the glass and then fill it with water at the start of the preparation, which will chill the bowl of the glass throughout the course of the preparation. Oh, in the corner here, we've just had Jeff, our business partner, join us. Jeff, in order to be heard, you might need to come closer to the thing. And so then we're going to give the drink a vigorous shake. So take your larger can and fill it full of ice. You want to get the drink as cold as possible. We take it, snap, and now, as mentioned with that Aguafaba, we want the drink to have as rich and full a head as possible. So give it a super vigorous shake. Okay. Now I'll just get my garnish ready. So we double strain this just to ensure we keep any ice or bits out of the drink. And you'll note that lovely blushy red color coming through.
That's gorgeous.
Well, it's not the Hong Bao just yet. There's one more touch that we still need. So we take our gold leaf. Again, probably not something you mightn't have at home. There's a number of stores here in Manhattan's Chinatown that sell them. If your hometown doesn't have a Chinatown, you can find these online as well. So take it, drop it, let it sit on the drink. And there we have a Year of the Ox original, the Hong Bao. Jeff, do you want to try it? Give us a verdict?
Okay.
That looks incredible. So the gold leaf, what is that made of? Is it edible? Hey, Jeff.
It's an edible gold. Nancy's saying hi, Jeff. It's an edible gold leaf. I think they were originally developed for pastry chefs. They'd use them for fancy decoration in pastry cooking or desserts, and we occasionally mess around with them for cocktail preparation. So yeah, it's a really fun drink. I'll try it also.
Yeah.
Let me give it a go, Andrew.
Sure thing.
Nice. Yeah, so that was really nice actually. I'll enjoy the second one. So that's the at restaurant preparation. Nancy, should I go into one that might be a bit easier to do at home with some cheats straight off the top?
Oh, that would be amazing. Can I ask you one quick question on that? And then we can open it up after you do both drinks. But the froth part, I mean, you really put that elbow grease into that shaking of it. Is there, I guess in the home version, you'll tell us how it'll look, but you know, that is obviously 5-star quality right there, the preparation of it all. Can we, yeah, I think going to the home version will help us out, the realistic version.
That's fair, Nancy. I haven't actually been a cocktail bartender professionally, like behind the bar, for a long time because we've been busy running the restaurant. But yeah, back in the day, I've made a lot of drinks. So if you want to go for it in the coupe, which I would love to do, you'll definitely impress your guests. It comes up beautifully, but you really have to put some substantial elbow grease into that shake. There's a little cheap for an at-home shake. Obviously, not everybody will have the bar cans and all of the equipment, the strainers and the like. If you take a large mason jar, it needs to be a big mason jar because you take all your ingredients, need to make up a portion. You then want to fill it about 75% full with ice, but leave 25% clear on top. If the mason jar is a size that you fill it up entirely and you try to shake it, you're not going to aerate the drink. And the air is what puts the head on the top of the drink. It's settled down now a little bit because I've had a sip and it's been sitting for a couple of minutes. But so if you take a large mason jar, give it a super vigorous shake, lots of ice, but plenty of space as well, you'll get the same effect. But this second version we're going to do, we're going to do it on the rocks. And the head is less imperative, so it should come up okay.
Wow, that's a pro trick right there. We're going to file that one away. Yeah, let's see the home version.
Excellent. So now the home version I might do just with a tequila, because I imagine most at-home bartenders will have the tequila. The baijiu is obviously a bit more of a specialist ingredient. So with this, the only change to the spec is we go from 1.5 ounces of the tequila now to 2 ounces, because it will be. Sorry, I've just realized I nearly skipped a step doing the at-home version. I mentioned that we used the raspberry syrup before. Simple cheat for at home is take fresh raspberries and put 4 or 5 raspberries. These are a nice big size, so 4 I think will suffice. And then if you just take a small pour, this is agave, so you can use any sweetening syrup, and agave, a simple syrup, which is a white sugar syrup, and just put in a dash, a little under 1/2 ounce. So in doing this, we're going to make a raspberry syrup in the tin in real time. Then you take a muddling stick, and by combining the agave and the fresh raspberries, we get a raspberry syrup of sorts, which is not a bad facsimile for the one we prepare before service here at the restaurant. And then it's just the same again. As I mentioned, we'll go for 2 ounces of tequila this time, so we can forego the baijiu. Again, that judgment is really just down to the personal taste, whichever you'd rather. 0.75 ounces of the lime juice again. And then I will go with the Aguafaba. If you don't have it at home or an egg white, it's not a problem. It's not essential when serving on the rocks. I'm just doing this to keep it pretty, really.
Now, did you take that from chickpeas?
Yes, yeah. So it's just the water strain off of chickpeas because you want it. That's an important thing. If you're trying to do your own Aguafaba at home, make sure you use organic, no sodium added chickpeas, because some of the supermarket brands will be full of other additives to keep them shelf stable. And if it's sodium, it will actually change the character of the drink. So you want organic, sodium-free chickpeas. Now this time, to keep it a little bit more simple, we're going to use a rocks glass rather than the coupe. Straining over ice is a little bit more forgiving on the look of the drink. Okay. And then it's just the same method. And now we strain over the ice.
Wow, that's respectable. That looks good.
The color on that is nuts.
Yeah, the color's still gorgeous on it. And then a slightly simpler garnish you can effect at home. Just a few raspberries. Definitely not 4 raspberries. You want to keep it good luck. 2 raspberries on top. So that if this all feels a little bit more intimidating on the coupe, don't worry, you can try it over the rocks version at home as well. I hope people try it. We'd love to get feedback, what you think.
That is so impressive. And our star student, you know, who said Tyger o'clock, Josh is wondering, did the color change on the restaurant version? Like, it looks redder to us? Or maybe
it does, doesn't it? It's come up richer as it's sat. If I'm honest, I'd hope that none of my drinks would ever sit for 15 minutes without being drunk. I hope it'd be long gone if this was being served in the restaurant. But yeah, it does seem to have settled into a deeper color. One thing to keep in mind here is that here we didn't use the raspberry syrup. We used the fresh raspberries, and in pouring it over the ice, it's always going to come up a bit lighter. So I do feel like this has darkened as it sat. That may be the head kind of settling. But that's a gorgeous color, the coupe now. But I hope the drink never sits for 10 minutes without getting drunk. So
that's nice.
You like
know,
that, Andrew?
in Chinese, they have like Lao Hong, and they have like, you know, the old red, and then you have the light red and the young red. It seems like one's more sophisticated. I have a very...
The at-home one's just as good.
Is it?
You like that?
Is
Yeah,
good?
it's just as good. Yeah,
Great.
it's just as good.
Yeah. Yeah, so those little tricks and keeping it simpler, the drink isn't going to suffer in any way. It might just be a slightly easier preparation.
Right, and we have, there's already questions about the drinks part before we go into the conversation with them, with the 3 of you. Tell us about your thoughts about baijiu. You know, some are stronger, some are saucier. You mentioned that the Ming River one. So which one did you use, a lighter version?
So Ming River, this is the white Ming River, which I think is probably the most widely distributed. Mao Tai would be the most widely distributed here in the States, but that would be too expensive. That's probably a waste of good Mao Tai to have it incorporated into the drinks. Look, it's been a growing category. I remember about 4 or 5 years ago, a new bar opened on Houston Street, which was a baijiu specialist bar. As I mentioned, it remains a distinctly acquired taste. It's not for, like some people, particularly in the cocktail world, haven't really embraced it. So you need to be thoughtful. If you're a baijiu person, you can run away with it. You can do classic stirred drink riffs. You can, you know, change it up in bases of other classic cocktails. But if I'm preparing drinks for others, we would typically drink Mao Tai, just neat, just chilled and neat. And Mao Tai, like last Tuesday, we were out for our New Year dinner, and we enjoyed a bit of Mao Tai. But yeah, so for when incorporating baijiu into cocktails, I always use the Ming River White because I find most guests' palate will respond better to it, and it's just easier to access rather than some of the specialist stuff, which is like done by smaller importers.
And then what if you're not a huge tequila drinker? Any subs?
If you're not, this drink would come up fabulously with gin. The aroma on gin with raspberry and lime is a classic combo. What you'd have to do if you're using an alternate spirit is probably play around with it a little bit if you want to still incorporate the baijiu to find your levels. So gin would be a great base spirit, but you'd have to find the point where it works well in concert with the baijiu. Tequila and baijiu, I find, if you want to use a different white spirit, it would have to be a white spirit, meaning if you want to use an alternate white spirit, tequila I've always felt is the best pairing agent and also super popular right now. And also some silver rums, white rums. You know, it could be fun to do this with some Filipino rums, keep it of the region.
We had a cocktail in Fiji that used
was rum.
Right?
Yeah, it was a rum combo.
That was really nice.
So we have a cocktail bar on Doyers Street, just underneath Chinese Tuxedo, also closed presently, obviously, sadly. And we've often incorporated baijiu into drinks there, and we try to keep them super bright and floral and fun. So we do like some tiki riffs. So if you enjoy tiki drinks like Jungle Birds, Rum Runners, it wouldn't come up well in a pina colada, but some of the other classic tiki drinks, baijiu can be a fun thing to play around with.
That's so fun. And then someone mentioned, did we not put wine in the home version?
Oh, didn't I?
Oh, maybe
that might explain our difference in color. I got caught.
Oh yeah.
Well, sometimes
I'm glad there are eagle-eyed viewers at home.
no, but you know what? You're just assuming that we're out of wine and we've gone to just like COVID.
I had some here ready to go, but that explains the difference in color then. Okay, so this is not officially a Hong Bao. This is
yeah, I'm Clifton, very impressive eagle eyes, Clifton. And then, you know, what I love about this drink is that, you know, using baijiu, and, you know, you don't really see baijiu in a lot of other places used, and, you know, the gold leaf, I really like that. I mean, Lychee Martinis have become like almost ubiquitous in different Asian fusion restaurants. What do you think about using some version of lychee, anything infused, vodka or something?
Personally, I love and adore lychee drinks. So I say lychee, but I'll adjust my accent to lychee. But it's funny, drinks, like anything else, things go in and out of fashion. Like restaurant styles, cuisine styles, individual dishes, individual drinks. And Lychee Martinis took over the world in the 90s for good reason, that they're absolutely delicious. The sweetness of the lychee, typically they're with a vodka base. It can pair great with meals when done thoughtfully. So it was a great drink that performed really, really well. And then I think there are a lot of bad examples of it. So some people, you know, copied or it maybe spread too far, too fast. So it kind of fell out of favor. And that's a bit of a shame. And I do think and hope that it's coming back. And it's funny, we've been putting our heads together on spring cocktail lists, speaking with Hugo, our Bev director. So both vodka-based cocktails with some members of the cocktail cognoscenti kind of fell out of favor, and lychee went from being a really preeminent ingredient to falling out of favor a little bit, but it shouldn't be. It can make fabulous drinks that pair super, super well with rich or spicy foods. Yeah, stay tuned for the spring for maybe some lychee numbers here at the Tyger, certainly, and maybe even Tuxedo.
Why not?
When we bring it back. Yeah.
What about if we do lychee mao tai?
Yeah, lychee. Jeff's just suggested a lychee mao tai number, which would be something fun to play around with.
I think it's something very interesting especially for Asia.
Particularly in the spring, I think that would be great. Yeah. So we love lychee. The issue there is that it's something that we occasionally run into. Some people think of the term fusion restaurants, like fusion became a bit of a dirty word in the restaurant world in the probably early 2000s, just because I personally, you know, with my own background and working with Jeff and Andrew, I think it can make for super exciting restaurants and wonderful schools of cuisine. But again, if it's not done thoughtfully, if it's not done well, there are a lot of bad versions. And so if you're just really thoughtful of it and try and do it with integrity as best you can, it can make for amazing drinks.
That's what's so neat, because, you know, even growing up, the complaint was always, you know, there's nothing, no liquor, there's no cocktails, there's nothing to pair with Chinese food, I mean, or Asian food. And I think that's just not been done thoughtfully. And that's why it's so exciting at Chinese Tuxedo. Some of the dishes and the beverages, you know, the cocktail choices are just outrageously divine. And similarly at the Tyger. So I'm pretty sure the audience wants to know each one of your favorite dishes and what you would pair that with at the Tyger.
So Jeff, the question was each of our favorite dishes and what we pair it with at the Tyger. Does somebody want to kick us off?
So pairing with a cocktail?
Yeah.
Cocktail, wine, yeah.
Whatever you think. beer?
Yeah. I think one of the best ways to end our meal here is with either the coconut palm or the tart. But then with like we have like a line of hot cocktails here, and one of them is the endless night with a cold brew. And I think that's just like a perfect way to like have some coffee at the end. But like if you want to keep having drinks,
there's also a couple of ounces of tequila in
yeah,
there.
just a couple of ounces. I'm a big tequila drinker as well. So like to me, that's just like the perfect way to like end to have to end the sweet note and with a little bit of coffee kick in there as well to just round out your meal. To me, that's like absolutely perfect. I don't know about you.
Yeah, well, I'm the wine drinker, so
Yeah.
if I do it, I would do it with the shrimp ribs and a glass of the Cabernet.
Yeah, that's a killer
So
combo.
good.
Jeff might have stolen one of my answers there.
That sounds awesome.
For me, it's a lot of it's context dependent. To Andrew's point, most of our guests are dining outside right now in February. So our hot cocktails, we have a range of 4. They've certainly been popular, and whenever I'm dining here currently, I'm on the hot drinks. But time of day different. We've started all day service on Saturday and Sunday. We're open from 12 noon. So if I'm here in the daytime, Chef Paul Donnelly, our exec chef, across both Tuxedo and Tyger, has an amazing fried chicken dish with a Phnom Penh inspired white pepper and lime chili dressing. And if it's the middle of the afternoon on a nice sunny Sunday, there's nothing better than fried chicken and champagne.
Oh, yeah.
So the wine list here is all American, which wasn't part of the original conception of the venue.
Mm-hmm.
But opening in the pandemic, it was so apparent how many of our industry friends and colleagues have been affected so terribly by the pandemic. We felt rather than working with major houses and international imported products, we wanted to support the industry here in the US. So most of the wine is from the West Coast, but we also have New York wines up and down the East Coast. But we do a fabulous sparkling rosé, natural sparkling rosé called Le Carboniste, and a Le Carboniste and fried chicken on a Sunday afternoon is that's a good time too.
I just want one now.
And you're definitely doing food to go. People are wondering, and can you get a cocktail with it?
Yeah, so we are doing cocktails. So we have select option of cocktails to go. We on like branded glass bottles and all. So you can order that on a multitude of delivery apps. We can also order those on our website as well. It comes in a really nice kit with coasters, with straws, and even the garnishes. So you can even experience a cocktail that you would experience here in the restaurant at home.
That's amazing. And I was there the other night and I had the poison of the honeybee, which is like, I guess,
One of the hot ones.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It was one of the 4 hot ones. And it was perfect in your greenhouse and just, having it. I had the chili fried rice. And I don't know, that was my combo. That was.
Well, something that's been really fun and interesting about this service style at this moment was in the past, with the licensing laws, we weren't in a position to do cocktails to go, but now with these bottled cocktails, we very often have guests who'll have dinner here in the restaurant or lunch if it's the weekend, and then when they're finishing up, they'll ask, the cocktails are done as little twin bottles, and you just need to shake them and pour them over ice at home. And we've had guests ask for the check and ask if they can take 2 or 3 or 4 packaged cocktails home for the next night or to keep the night going or whatnot. So we always like it when that happens.
That's awesome. And we put for our guests, we put up, you can order online at Toast Tab, and we've put up the different cocktails to go that the Tyger is offering. Something you sort of alluded to is like the poo-poo word on fusion and how eclectic it is that you've gotten all these dishes from all parts of Asia. And really your backgrounds, in and of itself, especially Eddy, I mean, you've got Singapore, you've got Australia, you've got all bits and pieces of Asia. You are an immigrant. And just what gets you excited about what you're doing now and doing it in Chinatown and getting and presenting this, sort of a compilation of your experiences and fusing it with the lambs, which, they're just an institution in New York City and Chinatown.
Yeah, no, I'm very, very lucky to be able to do this and what I do. And it wasn't really by design. If you can't tell from the accent, I'm Australian originally. I hail from Melbourne, Australia, but I was born in Singapore, and growing up Australian and with the Singapore time in Singapore, East Asia has a lot to do with our experience, our food culture, both geographically and the populations. And as a kid, or growing up, that was the food scene that I found most interesting. I was lucky to be able to travel a lot, and it was always China, Hong Kong, Southeast Asia that I would access. My mother's husband is Chinese. My sister Geraldine, who's actually the other partner in the enterprises, she's currently in Hong Kong, but transferring to Beijing. So it's always had a big impact and influence on my life. And then I came up in the hospitality industry, and I didn't start on the restaurant side of the coin. I started in bars and music venues, which is where I learned how to do things like this. And Jeff I migrated here to the US in 2009 and met Jeff in my first couple of months living in the States. We met in 2010 and worked together on a project 2011, 2012. And we had a shared love of Chinese food. And Jeff was fabulous at showing me venues that I mightn't have found otherwise. And then, so Jeff is a general contractor, has built restaurants and bars all over the East Coast. And we were talking about Chinese restaurants here in New York City, the Chinese restaurants that Jeff would visit and was very familiar with in China, or in mainland China, places I'd been in Hong Kong, and places in Sydney and Melbourne and the like. And we thought that we wanted like an expression of our experience and our shared experience and whatnot in the Chinese food space. And we were so lucky to be able to open Tuxedo there on Doyers Street in Chinatown, which is my favorite street in the city. I live in Chinatown, but on the Bowery. And so we found that space in 2014 and opened Tuxedo in 2016.
Right.
And then here at Tyger was a bit of an evolution beyond that, in that we just kind of broadened the reach, broadened the scope. That experience of growing up Australian, that broadly Southeast Asian cuisine is a huge category. It's probably the most popular category in Australia, in Australian restaurants. And Chef Paul and I had worked together in Sydney, but he'd done training in Bangkok and had been the head chef for 5 years of one of Australia's most celebrated Southeast Asian restaurants. So it was another cuisine and world that we kind of wanted to, inhabit ourselves, but share with New York.
That's so cool. And it's so exciting because Jeff, I mean, there aren't a lot of like global citizens like Eddy walking around, wanting to partner with, the best of Chinatown, like you and your brother, right? That's your brother next to you? No, just kidding.
Meant to just name check your Jeff's brother.
Well,
okay, your son, but you look so young. But what I'm fascinated by, if I can ask you, because you guys have been hit so hard, and Chinese Tuxedo got hit hard. The COVID, the pandemic, the xenophobia, people closing, anything like Museum of Chinese America, Chinese anything, Chinese Tuxedo, anything Chinese, Chinatown, got hit so hard and so early. But I have to say, every time I saw you when you were building out the Tyger in the middle of like the height of the insanity, like you guys are always smiling. You're always got the positive attitude. And I'm sorry, I thought like you guys, I was shocked because you guys were constantly like, we can get out of this. We're going to do this. We're just going to build this out. And then you built the greenhouse, then you built the thing. And then but like, can you tell us a little bit about how you've been able to get through this time and what are you looking forward to? And is it just your experience that has made you just be like, we're going to get through this, or what is it, Jeff? Like, how'd you do this?
well, I think that one part of it is like experience. I'm older, Eddy is younger, and Andrew even younger. My brother is a lot younger than I am. So what it is that because what I see around now during the pandemic, people really sad about the whole thing. They think that their life is changing forever, but when I talked to Eddie and when we were talking about whether or not we should open during the pandemic, and and we decided that we have to show people that pandemic is not the end of the world. Pandemic is something temporary in our life, interaction. So we want to make sure that we want to bring the our happiness back. So that's why every time we adapt to the conditions, so everything presented to us, then we just want to make sure that the what we are doing is the best for everybody, for ourselves, for people around us, for our guests, and just need to show people that what we are doing that is the things that it's part of our life interaction, and we will be able to make it better. So that's the kind of attitude Eddie and I, constantly try to do the best for people around us, for all our staff, and for our guests.
That's awesome. And then Andrew, when Mocha and the other 4 tenants at 70 Mulberry, oh yeah.
Sorry, Nancy, we'll go again.
Not at all. Andrew, when Mocha and the 4 other tenants at 70 Mulberry Street dealt with that big fire, you guys are so busy with Tuxedo and you're trying to open up the Tyger, but then, you and the team came out and you're just like, went to the fundraiser and helped support us. Yeah, can you tell us, like, community wise, like, community is a weird word, but, it just really seems like, the Lambs and Eddie, you guys are really trying to embrace this larger sense of community. And what do you see as like the next gen, working with your father, working with the cool, like Eddie is awesome from this global citizen, like what do you take? And you left something that was more secure, right? And then so tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, just quick background on me, I came from corporate, right? I think, you go, there's this rite of passage, right? You go to college, you get this corporate job, you get this stable job, and you go on and live your life, in this corporate job, and you move up the ranks and whatnot. But that really wasn't me, and a lot of people in my generation had it too. We like Chinatown was a stomping ground. We grew up here. Like until this day, I still remember carrying 20 bags of like the red bags of groceries, during the New Year, and lugging it to my mom's car so that we could prepare this huge meal. And like my life is still here, right? Like my son is still here, my son is still here. And at the end of the day, when Mulberry had this terrible fire, like at the end of the day, like what I get to do in my everyday life is nothing without community, right? A lot of right now you're seeing a lot of community throughout the pandemic with supporting food establishments, mom and pop food establishments that may not have social media presence or don't have that kind of infrastructure. And hopefully we can continue this momentum, continue to build it up, and bring more and more people into Chinatown and to show them the magic Chinatown is. The magic Chinatown has always been for me. That has never changed. So I hope that we can come out of this on the other side more successful, more resilient, and back to the good old days, but even better with everything that's going on.
That's awesome. Thank you, Andrew. And I know the sound isn't great, but I've been typing some of your quotes into the chat for our panelists. Continue to put your questions into the Q&A. I've been sort of feeding them over to Eddie, Jeff, and Andrew. And just thinking, Eddie, you mentioned born in Singapore. You're Asian. You're more Asian than I'm Asian. I'm a ABC from Flushing. You're Asian. But I would love to understand, like, obviously in this heightened sort of xenophobia and just all the insanity that's going on, and just feeling like, for me, I feel like it's a hamster wheel on this, and that's why we do what we do at MOCA. Because we think fundamentally we've got to change the history textbooks. People don't know that this has been going on for 200 years and all that. But we were chatting, in different conversations that, it's a little foreign to you, this whole like racism, against Asian Americans, because you're coming in from such a different perspective, and you're Caucasian. So how do you process what's going on as an Asian person?
It's super hard to compute. I don't think I'm entitled to that well, no, it's so foreign and strange and curious in some ways. It's the first sentiment, the first feeling is just so saddening. It's abhorrent. It's unacceptable. It's bonkers. It is how I receive it, but so difficult to compute in that. And look, Australia is not without its racist sentiment. Australia has a lot of racist sentiment in it also. You mentioned going back to the history textbooks, like the Australian experience, particularly for the Chinese diaspora in Australia, is pretty similar. The Chinese are some of the first migrant populations in Australia going back to the early 19th century, which is really early days for Australia. And like the Chinese Exclusion Act here, we had a White Australia policy in Australia. And some of those sentiments remain to this day. I'll be honest, in my experience, and this is the luxury afforded me by being a Caucasian migrant to America, I didn't know these sentiments exist. Because one, they shouldn't, and two, in my own experience, my business partners, my friends are first and second generation migrants, and the way in which they've enriched New York City, the way in which they've enriched the American experience, and we call this country the Great Experiment. And I love the USA. I'm here for a reason. But this is just such a stain on our collective experience. Obviously everybody's heart hurts for the Asian community in the USA right now, but it's a collective damage. We're all losers when these kind of attitudes prevail. Now, I do hope that it's a tiny, tiny minority of people. And certainly in our world, our community, the people we interact with in Chinatown and more broadly, feel these actions, feel these attitudes are abhorrent. But we have to do more, and I have to take responsibility as a Caucasian migrant, but we have to do more to just, one, establish that such attitudes are unacceptable, but two, educate people out of it. I think that is the imperative. Ignorance breeds fear, ignorance breeds xenophobia, and they're the things that then manifest in violence. And so the violence is what gets the headlines, the news. But in order to reach that awful, abhorrent end, there's a deep, deep ignorance, misunderstanding, xenophobia there. And look, I think food is amazing at bringing people together. So my love of Chinese culture was largely born in the restaurants and the cuisine that I ate. Now, obviously, it was more complex than that. I have family of Chinese background and the like. But if venues like ours, if neighborhoods like Chinatown, which for mine is the best neighborhood in the best city in the best country in the world, other people will feel differently. Everybody's entitled to their position, but that's what Chinatown means to me. If these venues and these kind of conversations and these experiences for people can aid education, understanding, and we can fight that kind of ignorance, I hope it will go some way in lessening the violence and the damage, which obviously it's a scary time for the Asian American or the AAPI population, particularly the elderly, but we're all losers when this kind of xenophobia is allowed to manifest. So it's saddening. I have a hard time wrapping my head around it. I'm sure, I think any right-minded person does. But yeah, I hope it's getting better. It has to.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and I appreciate that. And I think Jeff, Andrew, and I just, living in New York City growing up and spending all it is frightening how it seems to keep repeating. And just switching gears a bit, but reminding everyone that please, if you have a racist incident occur to you, and I will say I'm guilty of this. I have more, slurs, racist things happen to me, and I haven't ever reported any of them. And I think that that's wrong. But I know how easy it is. So please report any hate crimes you have, anything that you interact with to AAPI. They're keeping track, and as we know, there are over 3,000 hate crimes. But today I was really excited, just switching back to, you know, the restaurant sector and, you know, President Biden suggesting in the next 2 weeks that companies will less than 20, you know, smaller businesses and also, you know, thinking and rethinking some of the PPE options and trying to help restaurants in particular stay afloat. How do you feel now, you know, maybe Jeff, about the near term, or Andrew or Eddie, like how do you feel like you're going to be able to make a turn? Are you more hopeful than you were like even 30 days ago, 60 days ago?
Nancy, let's go back to the racism a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah.
So I'm most of my adult life I'm in America, and it's so sad that it's simply because you are different from white people, and people discriminate against you, which is so sad and unreasonable. And you feel like you know, what did I do to any of you? I just go on, do my business, and be working hard. Why you have to say certain things against my race? I hope, you know, one day that this America, it will, you know, change as people judge you not by the race or by any part of the skin. It's just by the character of that person. So I hope that's what I hope for. But since I landed in America, that I think the most core values of a lot of people haven't changed. So we just hope for it, you know, and I think it's more part of it. A lot of people need to be educated. You know, I think on both sides, the white, black, Asians, Hispanic. You know, sometimes it is like Eddie you say it. It's the ignorant people that try to hurt other people. So it's once people are educated, and also by the association. If people go out, you know, commingle into all different kinds of race people, you talk to each other, people understand each other, and and people become a better person, you know, in terms of the race relationship. And it's something that everybody got to work hard on it. You know, I think especially rural the white Americans, and hopefully, you know, they get more education from different race. You know, has more interaction with the other race rather than stay in their own race, and that's where the country, you know, started from.
Now, thank you so much for that, Jeff. I really appreciate it. And your star participant, star student today is Joshua Eckert Chu. He's giving you another drink idea. It's called the Best Neighborhood, Best City, Best Country Triple Threat.
We should definitely. You know what? That
the tuxedo
cocktail, that cocktail needs to be made by Eddie.
You know, and we'll do it on Doyle Street. We'll do it at Peachy's, and it's the best street too in the best neighborhood. Thank you, Josh.
Obviously, yeah. This is good, and it's only Monday, everyone. It's only Monday.
The creative juices are flowing. See, half a cocktail.
Also, in terms of Biden, things that you want to talk about it.
Yeah. So to circle back to the last question, Nancy, about the climate right now. Look, to take it on a couple of levels, we've always been hopeful. You said, are we more hopeful now? It's been a difficult road. It's been a challenging road, and we're definitely not out of the woods. You know, Tuxedo is still dark. So many of our friends and colleagues' venues won't or might not be coming back. But on a personal level, for our enterprise and also for the industry more broadly, we have been hopeful, in that it's such an imperative of the New York experience, the New York commerce, and some of the scenes we've seen here at the Tyger have really affirmed that hope. We've had days, we've done dinner outside in the snowstorm before they brought back indoor dining, and had people waiting for tables. It's amazing. It's so, I don't know if the guests would ever understand just how like affirming and rewarding that is for us. We'll do our utmost to try and give the best food and the best service and the best experience that we can under very testing circumstances. But when people are coming out at a time like now in conditions like in the depths of winter to dine outside, that is cause for a lot of hope. As to right now, those questions around support and the like, it's such a complex question and it has been really mishandled to date, if I'm honest. It does look like the future is brighter and it will be better for a lot of operations. Here at the Tyger, we're not eligible for any kind of support or any of the support programs because we opened in September of 2020. And all of the support calculus is around bottom line impact 2020 versus 2019. And although we were founded in 2019 and we started building the site in 2019, because our revenues were zero, we're ineligible. So Tyger has to make it off its own bat, which we knew, we understand that, and that's our decision as operators to take that on, and we're comfortable with that. And Tuxedo, we're really lucky with Tuxedo that in the 4 years we were operating before the shutdown, or 3.5, we managed to foster a lot of goodwill, a lot of support, both immediately in the Chinatown community and more broadly. So we've always felt like whatever we're permitted to do, however we're permitted to operate, we might enjoy success in that, you know, whether it's 25%, whether it's outdoor, whether it's 50%. So for us, it's always been, we just need to hold on and stay the course. And the relief funds go a long way for us being secure that we can, you know, create an income for our team and you know, perpetuate the businesses. Sadly, unfortunately, a lot of our industry brothers and sisters aren't necessarily in that position of strength. And like for us as operators, we feel very fortunate, very grateful, and we're so proud and lucky to work with the team that we do. But for the industry more broadly, there's no question this is devastating. And it's devastating from the owner-operator level right through to the teams. You know, we might all be familiar with the servers and the maitre d's or the big name chefs, but this is such a big, complex industry that employs so many people in so many kinds of positions. And sadly, the backbone of the industry, the great many of the industry, are some of our most vulnerable earners, people who don't have assured food security or housing security and the like. And when a great many restaurants have effectively been closed for 12 months, and it can be as simple as the fact as if you have a fire hydrant directly out the front of your business, you mightn't be eligible for outdoor dining. We're lucky here at the Tyger, and it's why we expedited the Tyger Open, where we can get 60 seats outside. At Chinese Tuxedo, we can't. So you might have a small independent operation where outdoor dining or the operating protocols, 25% social distancing, just aren't possible. And the headlines are the venue owners and the big restaurant groups and whatnot. But for every one of those teams, there's porters, dishwashers, support teams, and the rest of the industry that it runs through. That can be, you know, linen companies, vendors. You know, we have a litany of vendors from all the booze, the liquor providers we work with, right through to small Chinatown independent businesses we saw some of the specialist ingredients from. The Chinese Tuxedo spend might have been critical to that small operation, and that's just not possible. So around the support, it's been inadequate, is the long and the short of it. There's certainly a lot more hope, and we're a lot more hopeful with the change in administration. We won't talk about how we feel about the last administration because we'll be here all night for another stiff drink. but
well, it's getting a lot better with the new administration. But I think it is a major problem with that any kind of help from the government, they try to do it. It's like one size fits all, because it doesn't happen like that. Because as Eddie explained it, our industry is so complex because each one of the business are different. So if they will be able to bring the industry people into the administration, try to figure out a way to do it, to help people with different kinds of problems. But it doesn't, it basically they throw you a one size fits all. That's the major problem that our industry is facing right now.
Yeah, I hear you, and this is such good insight, because I think a lot of us are in pain about smaller, restaurants that have closed after decades and decades, and then larger places that we're used to, and then it's just like I didn't even realize the plight that you had, just having no 2019. I mean, this is just, but we hope and we know that because the three of you are just so awesome and so thoughtful, which is like the thing I keep thinking about, like you're so creative and so thoughtful. And like, I just really do feel like you want to serve the best and give everyone a great experience. And so I think it's so, perfect that you made us the Hong Bao. So we're hoping you get a lot of Hong Baos this year. And, 恭喜发财 Hong Bao, many Hong Bao.
I'm in Chinese tradition, right? If you are older, you never get any Hong Bao anymore. So I got to give back every time I see any person. Right?
I know.
Andrew and I did okay. But it's an expensive time of year for Jeff.
Exactly.
I'm happy to giving out the Hong Bao.
Yeah, but so, I don't know if I can promise that Jeff's going to give you a Hong Bao if you visit the Tiger, but you should give him a Hong Bao by getting over there. And really, I cannot tell you how delicious the food is.
Yeah, I'm telling you, next year, we're going to give out a lot of Hong Bao between Tyger, Chinese Tuxedo, and Peaches. Yeah, we want to make sure to celebrate Chinese New Year next year.
Year of the Tiger.
The year of the Tiger. It's my year.
Just the Tiger.
It's my year.
Definitely. Okay.
So next year, lots of Hong Baos from Jeff.
There can only be one tiger on the mountain. So anyway, everyone, thank you so much for coming out. And this is on Facebook Live, and send it around to folks and order from the Tiger. Look out for Chinese Tuxedo. They'll be reopening soon, and hopefully Peaches soon thereafter. But also come out, support all, get takeout tonight, and make the Hong Bao at home. And anyway, have a great, happy Lunar New Year, and join us. We're actually Yan Can Cook, Martin Yan, and Yummy Wines is the next program coming up. So we'll send that information around to you. And my mom, who's a published chef, recipe maker, is going to make tang yuan on Friday.
Tang yuan, wow.
So, yeah.
Nice.
To the amazing Eddie and Jeff and Andrew, thank you guys so much for sharing with us, and we'll see you at the Tiger really, really soon.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy.
And Nancy, if we can just sign off on one thing, thank you to you and Mocha as well. You guys have always been amazing advocates and supporters of ours, obviously Chinatown more broadly, and we're so honored to be your neighbor.
Lychee, that's it. We're all neighbors.
Nancy, thank you so much for touch the most important topics that we need to talk about today. So I'm so happy you are our labor, and we see you all the time, and it's so happy to see you.
Me too. I always feel that way for you guys. All right. Get some rest. And
we're about to open. It's 5 o'clock.
I know. I made a really bad version. I gotta go work on this. All right. Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, go